So this is Jack Hall's interviewing. Today's date is May 19th. The time is 7:36 p.m. And can you say your name, please?
Jeffery Scanlon.
And do you mind sharing some demographic information like race, ethnicity, age, and gender?
Yeah, sure. Caucasian, male, 42 years old. I don't know. Ethnicity, I don't know. Swedish and Irish and German.
Sure. And what are some of the primary things you do on a day-to-day basis? Like, what's your job? What kind of activities do you do?
Yeah, so primarily I'm a video editor. I also do motion graphics and animation work. I work here at Channel 18 WQOW TV here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And then, my day-to-day is basically I just help with taking care of the evening news edits, assistant directing, so running cameras, soundboard, all that good stuff.
Cool. And so you live in Eau Claire. What's it like to live there right now?
Well, it depends, I guess, on who you ask. So some people are pretty excited about the fact that we've just opened wide up and we're back at it. I myself, I'm nervous. I don't like it. I feel like it's kind of a little too premature, but yeah, I mean, it feels like it went from being a ghost town to now everything's back to normal.
Sure. When you first learned about COVID-19, what were your thoughts, and have your thoughts changed since then?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I work for the news, so I basically have watched this story since its inception, since it was first created back in Wuhan, China, back in late October, early November of last year. And then at first it was just kind of watching it happen there, thinking, that's too bad for those folks. I hope they can make it through it. And then watching it kind of slowly make its way across and into Italy, and then seeing what was happening with Italy. And then we were all kind of, trying to make light of the situation here at the station. And then by mid-March, it got to be very real and very, on our own doorstep. And once it became a U.S. problem, it definitely changed my mind to the severity of it, for sure.
Sure. And what issues have you most concerned right now about the pandemic?
I mean, honestly, I think it's more the lack of seriousness. I mean, I can understand that people need to get their jobs and they need to get back to work, and there's, bills and things like that. I think that the fact that there hasn't been like a rent freeze for businesses, like something to kind of hold them over for a couple months so that they don't have to worry about making their bills, that they could just freely quarantine, and, something like that hasn't been in place, I feel is a problem. Again, it's just the fact that I don't think people are really going to follow the social distance. They're not going to follow it that well. I mean, just the other day, seeing people by the roadside cafe, I mean, they were shoulder to shoulder, no masks, nothing like that. At the farmer's market, it was the same thing. Like we ran a story, and they tried to say in the story that they were mandating and they were following all these protocols. But you could see people within less than 6 feet. You could see people without masks. I mean, so I just think that the thing that's got me the most worried is the lack of seriousness to it.
Sure. And how has it affected your job?
It's all we talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's every single story. It went from being like a couple of stories at the top of the hour to all of a sudden it's, in more than 70% of our news coverage is now all coronavirus, COVID-19. Pick your name for it. Really, is kind of how it is. It's affected my job immensely. It showed how essential we were as workers, and that while everybody else around me was getting sent home to stay at home, we all had to stay here and kind of, man the fort.
And how has it affected the employment of some other people that you know?
Oh gosh, I mean, my girlfriend, she's been working home since the end of March, and she works for the government, for the federal government, and they're basically considering that they're not going to be going back to their office until probably the end of the year is what they're looking at. So, I mean, for people that are directly affected, my mom also works at she worked at Sacred Heart Hospital, and she's actually been put on furlough, so she can't come back to work until August. So she's off until August. So, I mean, it's yeah, it's directly impacting. And I'm just worried again that with everybody taking this lax because everybody wants to get out in the sunshine, we're going to see a huge spike come June, July, and yep, you're going to have a repeat of April.
In what other ways have affected your family and their day-to-day activities?
Well, I mean, my dad's, he's been a smoker most of his life, and so he's got some underlying issues. My mom also has some underlying health issues. So for both of them, they've had to really do their best with social distancing. And then, my daughter, they haven't been able to see her, which they're used to having her on the weekends, and they saw her just the other day. I brought her by, but they hadn't seen her in, a month and a half, 2 months almost.
Sure. And how is she doing with staying at home and not being in school?
Yeah, I mean, she loves it, of course. She thinks it's great. She gets to hang out and, doesn't have to get up early and all that. But I try to lay down the law as far as school is concerned and making sure that she stays on top of her tasks and stuff. So she likes it. I don't think she fully understands the gravity of, the severity of it. So.
Sure. And how has the outbreak affected how you associate and communicate with friends and family?
Can you say that one more time?
How has the outbreak affected how you associate and how you communicate with friends and family?
I mean, well, the first time that I saw my parents, because I hadn't seen them either, and the first time I went over to their house, I wore a mask. The only reason I'm not wearing a mask now is I'm kind of standing, in a field, so I'm far enough away from people. But I wore a mask the first time I went over to their house. It's just been basically we haven't seen each other. It's been just text messaging and things like that. So it's definitely changed.
Yeah. What have been some other challenges? What are the biggest challenges that you faced throughout the outbreaks?
I don't know. I guess just like trying to find supplies. I remember trying to find a thermometer was fun. Yeah, that turned into a whole day's ordeal just to get a thermometer.
Yeah.
And that was just to check myself, because when this whole thing first started, and it was something that I noticed too, was like the end of last year into this year, it seemed like everybody kind of had this like sniffly cold. Like I had it and everybody kind of had it. And then since everybody social distance, now I feel a little bit better. But I was worried. And so, finding supplies, I think it's been difficult, but I don't know. For me, my life hasn't changed too much because I still, I went to work the whole time during the whole thing. Like I've had social interactions with my coworkers and stuff. So, for me, it hasn't been like terribly different, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's still kind of try to stay away from people, feel weird when people get close by and stuff like that now.
And what have you and your family and friends been doing for recreation?
I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption too. So I'm learning the lure of the Old West myself. We've been my girlfriend, she has 2 daughters, and my daughter, when we all get together, we do those murder mystery boxes. So we've got the Hunt a Killer, and we've been doing those. So like a lot of family games. My girlfriend's got a pool, so we've been trying to swim, but the weather hasn't been cooperating. But a lot of yard work, doing a lot of cleaning and that kind of stuff to stay busy. But yeah, just odds and ends.
Yeah. And how has it affected your community?
It's turned it upside down. I lived above a salon that actually just reopened yesterday. Like all the businesses around me were closed. Everything's just been kind of flipped up on its head, and I don't know, it's different.
Yeah. How are other people that responding to those sorts of situations and all the changes?
I've seen people almost emotionally break down. Like here at work, especially I want to say about mid to closer to the end of April, I noticed a lot of my coworkers really just, we would be talking about it after the shows, and we'd get into conversations about the virus, and be on the verge of tears, and it's not easy. I mean, it's just, you know.
Have
Yeah.
you noticed any shifts of people's opinions throughout the pandemic from the start till now?
The only shift that I know is some of the folks that I'm friends with on Facebook at first were posting things about how it was like a government conspiracy and how it was this and that. But then once they had family members that actually contracted it and it like actually like hit their front door, they changed their tune quite quickly. So I've seen more of the conspiracy theorists flip onto the other side than the other way around.
And self-isolation and flattening the curve have really been like two key ideas throughout this. How have you, your family, friends, and community responded to self-isolation and flattening the curve requests?
Yeah, I mean, limiting the amount of people that I interact with, just staying to my close knit group, not, like if I do go in any public places, trying to make sure I'm wearing a mask, make sure I'm washing my hands after I, go out, or using hand sanitizer, like just being a lot more mindful of cleanliness and touching my face and touching things and like what I do touch, how I touch it. And yeah, so a lot of that, and just basically staying with a close knit group of folks, keeping it to less than 5. And yeah, like I said, I mean, I didn't see my mom and dad for going on, it was like almost 2 months before I saw them.
Has it changed or affected any other relationships with friends, family, or community?
No, I mean, I've had friends that I hadn't spoken to in a while that reached out, and so I've reconnected with folks. I would say that that's happened more than any of the latter. I mean, I feel like it's been a lot more of a positive outcome in some aspects. People kind of paying it forward and wanting to show the love and help everybody get through this. And so that's where it's been for me. I haven't had really any opposite or negative like relationship from it.
Have you or anybody you know gotten sick during the COVID-19 outbreak?
Nobody I know, knock on wood. And like I said, my mom worked at Sacred Heart, where they had a multitude. In fact, they had somebody who passed away while his wife was able to make a recovery. Her husband passed away at Sacred Heart, so I'm to it. But no, nobody I known directly has gotten sick from it. So yeah, and none of my coworkers that I can speak of have gotten it. So yeah, I don't know anybody relatively close. So
Sure. In what ways do you think it's been affecting people's mental health?
stressing them out big time. I mean, the new norm is not normal, and it's excuse me, and it's you can definitely tell the stress level. Like I said, with my coworkers, on the verge of tears half the time, and just it's hard. It's hard to have an uncertain future. You don't know what's going to happen. Everybody just wants it to be over with, and we just want to go back to life the way it was. I think it's been pretty hard on a lot of people.
And what have been your primary sources of news during the pandemic?
WQOW channel 18 right there. I mean, yeah, pretty much I am the news. I'm a part of it. So I hear all the stories, and, we all kind of will spitball ideas. I mean, I also reach out to other media outlets. I do get my news also from satire, late nights with, Colbert and Seth Meyers, and, and get me some John Oliver and all that good stuff in there. So, so that's been, but I've been gobbling it up, I'm in the thick of it.
What do you think are some important issues that the media may or may not be covering?
Again, I don't know if they haven't been covering it, because I feel like they've been doing a pretty good job of staying on top of like all the different stories. But again, for me, it's just stressing the importance of it, and the lack of respect for it, I think, is the thing but I don't know. As soon as you say something about it, people will just, tell you that you're being weak or anything like that. So I don't know. I feel like they've been doing a really good job covering it. I just really hope that people can understand that you can't just, wish it away.
Mhm.
It doesn't work like that.
Um, how have municipal leaders and government officials in the Eau Claire community responded to the outbreak?
In my opinion, good. Again, I err more on the side of caution, so it depends on who you ask, of course. But I appreciated that when when the Supreme Court shot down Tony Evers' safer at home action, that the Eau Claire County put in their own, they filed their own, action to, ordinance to make sure that people tried to follow it. So they still tried to make that a rule, even though, they couldn't really enforce it, but they at least were trying to say, hey, this is, use caution, even if you're going to still do this. So I think Eau Claire's been really good about being cautious in as best as they can, regardless of the fact that, that's like you're about to have a mutiny and an absolute anarchy from these bar, owners who got to have your bar crowd coming in. And very important. So, I actually kudos to the Eau Claire city officials, because I think they've done a good job on it, honestly.
Do you have any thoughts on how local, state, or federal leaders are responding to the crisis differently?
I mean, I feel like I'm on board with how Tony Evers has handled it. I think that he was the right amount of cautious, even in the face of adversity, with people not wanting him to go. There's those extremes. I think that he kind of pushed forward, and then I respected that. So no, as far as the state's concerned, I just think that we're falling back into an open state too quickly is my only concern. I think that we're going about the reopening too fast.
And how about at the federal level?
You don't even get me started there. That's no comment.
Has your experience transformed how you think about family, friends, or community?
I mean, I don't know. I really do appreciate the love and the paying it forward. I think that there's been a lot of that's been really great. Again, on the flip side, though, there's still all the the gross and disgusting folks of the world that are trying to take advantage of the vulnerable, and they'll try to find ways to get money out of this, so however they can. So yeah, no, as far as, I mean, I don't know. I'm more so changing for myself and just, trying to make sure that I'm doing right and that I'm making good changes. This has kind of opened my eyes to that vulnerability. But as far as like people are concerned, yeah, I'm still not too impressed. They're doing, I do like how, again, there's the love and there's that wanting to give. And I really do appreciate that. I mean, I feel like, we've been in those situations before, and we really do our best, but there's still the garbage out there too.
And knowing what you know now, what do you think that individuals, communities, and governments need to keep in mind for the future?
I mean, this is not a political thing. Wearing a mask in public is not a political statement. It's a statement of whether or not you care about your own health and the health and safety of others. I think that making this a political thing in an election year is ridiculous. I am beyond frustrated with the powers that be and how they've handled it. I think that if we continue to have the elected officials that we do have, it's going to be more so of this garbage in the future. I think that I hope that maybe something of this will come where people will open their eyes to the kind of leadership that they want in the White House and the kind of people that they want to help move the country forward, and not make it a political thing, not make it a, try to lie to people and not use science and things. I don't know. I hope that that's the takeaway from it. But again, like I said, yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to add?
I mean, just stay safe and wash your hands and all that good stuff. Yeah, try to respect other people and try to just know that, like, we're only going to be going forward if we actually can listen and give each other a little bit of space. So I don't know. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to end the recording now, and you can stay on, and I'll give you some more information.
Okay.